Good evening. It's Thursday, July 30th, 9:31 p.m. We have a lot to discuss today, a lot to catch up on, a lot of information to go through. I'll try to be as good as I can be to present it all to you. We're going to start off with recapping today's orometer numbers. I'm going to go over some news, some fresh news, and some reports that I compiled together. As we see, cases are skyrocketing. There's no end in sight. It's not flattening at any point. Daily deaths are going back up. At this rate, the daily deaths graph will turn into this. It's very likely. We look at the total: 17 million dead, 666,000. 17 million cases, 600K dead, and 10 million recovered. Now, this is completely useless because a lot of these recovered people are suffering chronic illnesses and dying. So there's no such thing as recovered. We have to look at it the way it really is. And the joke of official data is out the door. These people cannot be trusted. We're only getting sound bites. These numbers right here are a sound bite of what's really happening. When we look at excess deaths and cover up and data manipulation, we need to do that. And, I've reached a point in this pandemic where you have to attack the lies. You have to talk about the truth. You have to get it out there and talk with as many as you can. This pandemic is a challenge towards humanity. It's a challenge towards all our survival. We don't know what's gonna happen to us with this pandemic. Any of us could get sick from this, and who knows what happened from there. And I am very critical of other people who make content because I just don't. Okay, look, I've talked about John Campbell for a long time. Now maybe he means well, but he moves at a very slow pace. He's barely started talking about the neurological aspects of it. He kind of like praises vaccines without really understanding the real situation. That vaccines are crumbling, and they're trying to push out ones that are unsafe. And probably what has bothered me the most about the male nurse Campbell is that he just refuses to call out China. And if you watch his videos, it was very, very obvious from the beginning he would not say anything bad about China. And in fact, when China was locking people in their homes, starving them to death, and disappearing doctors and journalists, just straight up assassinating people, he was praising their draconian lockdown measures. And he did address it many times that he's been attacked for not attacking or not criticizing China. So he knows it. And he basically said, well, so we'll get stuffed. So he is afraid to speak out against China. And he needs to be more critical. He needs to be more like Dr. Chris from Peak Prosperity. Now, he speaks his mind. He will tell you how the situation is. And this Mr. Campo guy, he just seems like he's afraid to really, really, put the blame on the Chinese Communist Party. So he was accused of being a shill for China for the longest time, and he still doesn't do it. I can give you so much evidence of him just defending China. And Peak Prosperity, I have no real complaints. I mean, I wish he would post more. I mean, twice a week is all he does. But he's one of the few that has has a crowd that listen to him, and he knows where it's at. And he also talks about the stock market, which is another thing that we have to all look at. And then besides that, we have whistleblowers that are out there exposing China and the WHO. We have Kevin, PhD, who talks about the neurological aspects. A man with the credentials to tell you everything, or it makes me look like a child. I would definitely recommend him to look at he analyzes and goes over the medical papers. It's good to hear from somebody who has info on the inside, who's been there, who's done that kind of work. And there are others too that are out there. I have an audience of like 5 people, but I mean, what really matters is just getting this out. Someone's gonna hear it, it's gonna help somebody. That's what matters most to me. Now, I don't mean to go on a tangent about that, but I just have to say that if you are not speaking on the premise that the WHO has behaved like a criminal organization and that they deserve to be punished, such as Tedros, and that China lied and covered up this pandemic. If you don't base your analysis on that premise, you're just regurgitating facts and numbers and official data. Which again, we have to move beyond just reading articles. We have to go beyond following official data religiously. You have to start to critically look at this and understand the criminal activity of many governments in the world, including America, especially China, and people like the who have lied and caused mass deaths all over the planet. I have access to a lot of underground information, footage from around the world, and they're watching what's going on in hospitals. It's traumatic, watching people with SARS-2 brain damage looking like they're dead with like a grin on their face, just soulless eyes, but still alive. It's disturbing. It's disturbing to have to see these things, to watch videos of family members crying, that they want somebody to help them, that the hospitals are refusing to help them, that their loved ones are dying, that they're sick, that they're dying, that they have their parents both dead upstairs. Nobody wants to come pick them up. Just watching the homeless here in LA, just the increase in homeless, the increase in people who are depressed, the increase in people who are losing their minds over the quarantine. I mean, we got to go beyond official data. We got to look at this critically. Anyhow, here comes the tally. So for today, the world is gaining close to 300,000 daily cases. And again, this is only based on official data. The real numbers are way worse. For all we know, there could be 1 million getting infected today. We don't know what's going on anymore. And every single country in the world has failed at testing. That is something that we have to take the burden of and realize that the testing is really that bad. And USA is number one with 68K. Brazil number two, 58K. India third, 54K. Russia, I think I have it backwards. Well, still there. South Africa is fourth, 11K. Testing though, 27 million. So the top countries have the most cases because they have done the most tests by a lot. Look, America has 57 million tests. If every single country behind them did 57 million tests, I would probably have a cardiac arrest to see what this actually what this would look like by then. And then I have to point out just the absurdity of China saying that they did 90 million tests and only have 84,000 cases. It's a obvious, like, it's just funny to me how countries are just allowing China to make all of them look bad and make themselves look good. It's a power of perception, and China's winning. And anyhow, top deaths, USA 1,465. Looks like Brazil and USA are switching roles. Brazil number 2, 1,100. India third, 700. Mexico fourth, 485. Let's go to the USA state by state. And yeah, we're having, right now, there's Wuhans all over the US. All over, so many states are just suffering. Complete, just tragedy. In terms of cases, number 1 is Florida with 9K, almost 10K. Texas second, 8K, almost 9K. California third, 8,000. Georgia fourth, almost 4,000. In terms of deaths, the deaths continue to climb. Texas with 322 deaths. Florida with 252 deaths. Arizona with 172 deaths. And California with 114 deaths. Yeah, the deaths are just rising. And then all the other states are just seeing increases in deaths. Just more consistent deaths. Puerto Rico still getting a lot of new cases. Veterans still getting hit hard. 17 veterans died today. Where's the outcry for veterans? This country does not care about its veterans. Veterans have homelessness problems. They have poverty problems. Now they're having now they're getting blasted by a virus, and I have never, of all the research that I've done, I have not seen a single article address veterans getting hit except for today. Today, I saw an article for the first time where they actually criticized them. Now, why did Lookner go on? Oh, yeah, Lookner is another one that has done a lot of research, but he hasn't done much lately. Military did not report today. Prisons still going up. Navajo still going up. So, yeah, that's the tragedy. Everything is just getting worse and worse. You would say it's past 150K deaths. All right, so moving on from that, let's go to the news. We have a lot of news to discuss. Kind of want to see what Lugner was doing, but anyways. Gene study shows how SARS-2 swept through the Diamond Princess and how potentially one infected might have spread it to 700 others. The virus may have super spread before the quarantine began. Now, through a certain whistleblower, I learned today that this virus is much more infectious than we think. And there have been studies that were done months ago that were trying to show this in China, from China, but they were blocked. So we are going to be hearing more about how infectious it is, and it's going to get ugly. If SARS-1 could contaminate an entire apartment complex, how we saw, and SARS-2 is significantly more infectious, I mean, we'll see where this goes. I'm still looking into that. SARS-2 case leads to quarantine advisory for hundreds who attended Florida graduation. An individual who attended Bayside High School graduation ceremony tested positive shortly after attending, said officials who advised that anyone who went self-quarantine. Now, the schools are... Now, keep in mind that America is known for closing its schools, and yet it's still getting cases because people they just try to, salvage proms and graduations, and it's just a mess. SARS-2 can result in prolonged illness even among persons with milder outpatient illness, including young adults. 1 in 5 younger people with no pre-existing conditions said that they were still dealing with lingering symptoms. New research from Germany found that 3/4 of recovered SARS-2 patients had structural changes to their heart even 2 months later. Now, it is obvious that there will be chronic illnesses. There are people who are going to catch this virus and most likely have it for the rest of their lives. They will have a shortened lifespan. They will not be able to work in the worst case scenarios. Now, why am I saying this? SARS-1 does this. SARS-1 happened in 2003, 2002 maybe even, and even today there are survivors who are so sick from it they can't work. So, the issue with this is that they don't know what are the odds of this happening to you. Now, that kind of makes you wonder, why is SARS-1 like that? What made SARS-1 victims have it for life? So I'll probably have to look into that. I don't know we have an answer to that yet. New Zealand plans to begin charging some travelers for their SARS-2 quarantine cost when they enter the country, government said. Taxpayers have been footing the cost of isolating travelers at a hotel to prevent the spread of SARS-2. Totaling has already amounted to millions. Under the new law, adults who leave or enter the country for short holidays or business trips will be required to pay 3,100 New Zealand dollars or 2,100 US dollars toward quarantine costs. Yeah, New Zealand, with as low of cases that they got, are really, really taking this serious, and are even more serious than countries that are just being blasted with the virus. But they're still getting it, regardless. Saudi Arabia holds modest Hajj in Mecca amid SARS-2 worries. World's biggest gathering of Muslims is limited to fewer than 10,000 people, compared to the more than 2 million that normally attend the pilgrimage. I wonder how many are going to get infected out of this. I wonder. Because, they showed up, they distanced themselves, they wore masks, but, there's still a lot of skin exposure. They're not hiding, they're not covering their eyes. So I'm pretty sure we're going to get a few cases out of this. South Dakota, a total of 32 campers and staff from the outbreak at Camp Judson in the Black Hills have now tested positive for SARS-2, the State Department of Health announced Wednesday. Michigan, a Gladwin summer camp has been closed after reporting a SARS-2 outbreak beginning with 2 people. Now 28 attendees have tested positive. As Florida universities prepare to reopen in fall, a New York Times survey found three Florida universities among the top 7 in the U.S. with the highest number of SARS-2 cases this year. The newspaper surveyed every public four-year college in the U.S., along with Division I private colleges and elite research institutions, for a total of 270 institutions. It found 6,300 SARS-2 cases reported at those locations since the beginning of the pandemic. The University of Texas at Austin topped the list with 449 cases, with UFC and Orlando following close behind at 438 cases. Where is the outcry about this? Why is nobody why is the mass media in the U.S. not talking about this? Because they're pushing for reopening. Because the government in America is pushing for the schools to reopen. So they're not going to show that even in America, as the schools are already closed, supposedly, they are already having mass outbreaks. And we know from what happened in South Africa that hundreds of students and teachers got infected in South Africa because they refused to close the school. And that is the model and the example of what will happen across the world if the schools are reopened too soon and too carelessly. North Carolina reached a new high for SARS-2 hospital cases for a second straight day Wednesday, while the state added 45 new deaths, a single high increase to the SARS-2 death toll. North Carolina listed hospitalizations from SARS-2 reaching 1,291 statewide, increasing by 47 patients since Tuesday. The outdated total comes with 91% of hospitals reporting statewide and fewer available inpatient and ICU beds. An Alabama town has closed several of its government offices after a spike in SARS-2 cases, some of which were linked to a forum featuring candidates running for mayor and city council. Last week, the Chamber of Commerce in the town of about 2,600 hosted the candidate forum and meet and greet at a local restaurant. I mean, that's just sad. And pathetic. The Emergency Management Agency provided masks, but many of the approximately 40 attendees were pictured without them on. That was the same case in the Tulsa Trump rally. They provided masks, but people didn't wear them. And I was certain somebody that we'll get into with one of those, and he died today. Connecticut, Foxwood Resorts Casino reported Wednesday the first instance of an employee testing positive for SARS-2 since the casinos reopened nearly 2 months ago. The employee had little contact with patrons at the casino in Mashantucket. Mohegan Sun, Connecticut's other major casino, announced last week that 3 employees tested positive, resulting in 1 being hospitalized. So the cases just blew up suddenly in casinos. But I mean, people can't help their gambling addicts. I mean, their gambling addiction, so that's too bad for them. Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered the government to prepare for a possible uptick in SARS-2 cases, saying that the situation remains difficult and may worsen. Now, the first time that Putin said this was months ago, and Russia got hit hard, and I already knew it was gonna happen. Now he's saying it again, so they're probably gonna get hit. They're probably about to get hit even harder, real soon. Hawaii sees record 109 new SARS-2 cases. Oh, we'll get back to Hawaii. Florida hits records SARS-2, going over 200 deaths in a single day. Oh, I think I messed it up. Yeah, Florida hits SARS-2 record, going over 200 deaths in a single day. Now, people are saying, oh, it's just a backlog. Oh, you know, they just... No, in a single day, Florida surpassed 200 deaths. One state. LA County reports 91 deaths from SARS-2, the most in a single day. They reported less today. That was yesterday. America's SARS-2 deaths have officially surpassed 150,000. Man. Infected young people are refusing to cooperate with contact tracers. Now, they get scared because they feel like they have information they don't want to reveal about, possibly because they were drinking underage or don't want to expose somebody. But, you know, we need to contact trace, and America has failed. The world literally has failed contact tracing. Florida business owner got $3.5 million in SARS-2 relief money, allegedly spent on a Lamborghini and luxury hotels. Now, we have the government in America, like that fish face Mitch McConnell, who are saying that they don't want to give money to the poor because it's not gonna give them an encouragement to go to work, because they want to get America back to work. We have people who cannot pay. We have many people in this country who cannot afford their rent right now, who are not making their payments. People who have run out of money. I have seen people in LA steal from a Food for Less food because they are out of money. And they really want to tell us that they don't want to give us quote unquote free money because it'll encourage people to be lazy, while they're giving rich people millions in SARS 2 relief, and they're spending it on garbage like Lamborghini and hotels and jewelry. Yeah, projecting much, really? Nice projection. Major changes in human behavior on a mass scale due to the SARS 2 pandemic is disrupting Amazon's artificial intelligence algorithms and models. Yeah, so Amazon has has AI that helps monitor the workers and the products and how things are going, productivity, etc., etc. But the pandemic has disrupted it, so it's confused. It doesn't understand the sudden change in everything that's going on in the world. So its models and algorithms begin to fail, and and they're trying to figure out how to get around that. Anti-mask Texas congressman tests positive for SARS 2. Well deserved. Major League Baseball. Baseball team, the Marlins, suffered 16 SARS-infected players and 2 coaches. Oh yeah, they're not talking about the players. The media is focusing on the 2 coaches. They don't want people to know that many players got infected. Because I noticed the change in narrative in the news today, because that's from yesterday, and today they're choosing to focus on the 2 coaches only. Again, you have to watch the media like a hawk. A lot of people say that the mainstream media is state propaganda, which it is, and yet they follow it blindly. They call it what it is without really looking at it. Everything that I got, you can say a lot of it's from the mainstream, but a lot of it's local, a lot of it's more independent type of news. But most importantly, you need to form your own thought process and an analytical perspective out of this. And you got to question things. You need to put 2 and 2 together. You can't just be reading headlines and thinking that you're informed. Interview. Top SARS-2 expert in Arizona quits after 2 decades of work out of frustration with the government having no SARS-2 plan and for them deciding to open too early. Shortly after her resignation, Arizona became a SARS-2 hotspot. Arizona is doomed. In case you haven't heard, they are one of the deepest backlog states in the country, which is partly to cover it up, because there's no way that they really allowed it to get that bad without choosing to, really. California, Pacific Beach Gym in San Diego shuts down after SARS-2 outbreak. Now, I am hearing gym after gym after gym outbreak. People just don't know that you are gambling your life away. You're potentially gambling your life and the life of others doing things like going to the gym. People just don't get it. California, SARS-2 outbreak at a South Bay Costco in Sunnyvale is being investigated. We're gonna get back to that. It gets worse. South Carolina, Greenville County child dies from SARS-2. I mean, there are still people that believe this doesn't affect kids. That's because the media. You have to see how the media reports on kids. It's about keywords. They use rare, not so often, less likely to. But the truth is that this virus has killed hundreds of thousands of children by now, especially in the poorer countries that are unable to report, like Yemen, where and like where like India, where kids are dying by the hundreds. It's just not reported on. And then we'll get back to that too. There's another study I'm going to share later. The recent increase in new SARS-2 cases in New Jersey is being fueled in part by a spike in indoor house parties, like the Mansion Bash that attracted 700 people over the weekend, Murphy said Wednesday. He cited other outbreak clusters, including a Middletown house party that infected 50 teens and a gathering of Jersey Shore lifeguards. When there are hundreds of people crammed into a house where the air conditioning system is simply blowing the air around, and where people are not wearing masks, you have also invited SARS-2 to your party. Now, I've heard things about people who work in offices where somebody sick on the first floor can have their infected air particles taken by the AC to infect people on the third floor. So this thing is so contagious. There's still more to be found. He also blamed a Cape May County graduation party that infected at least 46 people between the ages of 16 and 23. A Father's Day party in Essex County that is traced to 3 cases, a party on Long Beach Island that infected 35 lifeguards, and a Westfield graduation party that is cited in 17 cases, according to State Health Commissioner Judith Perth-Shilley. So New Jersey is just, they're hit so hard. Doctors warn of a new generation of chronically ill patients if young people don't take SARS-2 seriously. Recent studies have shown that even when patients survive, the disease can have long-lasting effects such as brain and heart damage that could take months or longer to recover from. I am very worried about a new generation of chronically ill patients. She recalled treating SARS-2 patients who at first looked totally fine until lab tests show they are basically on fire on the inside. Their heart, their lungs, their blood vessels, their kidneys, it really does affect all the organs. There will be evidence of this having really detrimental effects on the body. One UK study found troubling signs of brain complications such as strokes, confusion, and newly diagnosed psychiatric conditions. I wonder what the newly diagnosed psychiatric conditions are. Cass said residual symptoms may emerge weeks or months after illness. She warned some patients currently in their 30s and 40s will be dealing with this for probably the next 20-30 years. And that is highly probable, considering that this virus is very similar to SARS, and SARS does this. It has done this. It is very likely. I don't think. Okay, I'll do one more because I'm about to hit a half hour. Florida sees 3-day streak in record SARS-2 fatalities. More than 260 citations issued for gatherings. Broward County Sheriff's Office said it's issued more than 260 citations over the past 2 weeks for large gatherings involving young people. Study. It definitely shows that kids do have levels of virus similar to and maybe even higher than adults, Health Sergeant said. It wouldn't be surprising if they were able to shed the virus and spread it to others. The study grows concern over reopening schools. Again, should schools be reopened? Look at South Africa. Look at South Africa, which I've talked about before, and you will see what can happen if you do that right now. California Pizza Kitchen files for bankruptcy because of SARS-2. University System of Maryland. Students need to get tested for SARS-2 to return. Throughout Ohio, local health department workers have been on the phone asking people infected with SARS-2 where they were before they first experienced symptoms. Yet, aggregate data, percentages of transmission that originated at informal gatherings, daycare centers, bars, and other locations hasn't been released publicly. Herman Cain, former presidential candidate, dies from SARS-2. Cain attended Trump rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 20th. He posted a photo of himself and other rally attendees. None of them were wearing masks. Masks were even provided at the event. On the same day that Cain was hospitalized, his social media account tweeted in praise of Trump's decision to hold a July 4th rally at Mount Rushmore without mandatory masks. The tweet has since been deleted. Wisconsin governor orders masks statewide amid virus surge. UK Formula One driver Sergio Perez has tested positive for SARS-2 and will miss this weekend's British Grand Prix, his Racing Point team said Thursday. Brazil's First Lady tests positive for SARS-2. Dozens of New York City bars cited for violation of SARS-2 restrictions. New Jersey house parties has become the source of SARS-2 outbreaks. More. California. It was 1 earlier, now 4 Costco stores in Santa Clara County are reporting SARS-2 outbreaks. That's really close to me. Los Angeles, California. USC is dealing with an outbreak of SARS-2 spread across the university's Greek Row. The school has detected around 40 positive cases involving individuals living on 28th Street, where many fraternity groups associated with the university are based. A significant number of the cases were associated with 4 fraternity houses, Van Orman said today Around 150 USC students and employees have tested positive. I am pretty sure a lot of it came out of partying. Hawaii hit another triple-digit SARS-2 record today with 124 new daily cases today, the highest since the start of the pandemic. SARS-2, home visits banned in parts of northern England. The new measures mean different households will not be allowed to meet in homes or private gardens. People in those areas can only go to pubs and restaurants with other members of their household. Ohio, bus driver tests positive for SARS-2. We are still doing our complete analysis and tracing on the driver's activity. It's unacceptable. Arizona's main SARS-2 lab, which processes the majority of Arizona's SARS-2 tests, is still backlogged. The U.S. economy suffered the worst period in history over the past 3 months. Worse than the Great Depression, by the way, as a result of the ongoing pandemic. GDP for the U.S. fell a historic 32.9% in the second quarter. GDP is all the goods that are produced in the U.S. because the Federal Reserve is pumping trillions of printed money out of nowhere. The stock market hasn't crashed yet. If they hadn't done that, the stock market right now would have been apocalyptic. I don't know how much longer they intend to pump the Fed with money, but once they stop, based on this data, we will know obviously right now that the stock market is doomed. So they're gonna keep pumping that money, make it look like it's doing well. Wisconsin area resident expresses frustration with SARS-2 testing delays. It's happening all over the place. All right, I had some more stuff to read, but I'm gonna stop there because I've hit half an hour. Feel free to ask me any questions on anything that I post. I have a lot. If you can see, I've compiled a lot of info. I mean, any questions you have, feel free to ask. If you want to discuss the virus with me, or if you need help, you want to know more about it, I can offer my help. Again, I'm not an expert. I have no academic background, but I deal with information, so I have somewhat of an understanding. I mean, I can communicate with you, and I'll post the source in the comments so you can check out all the article links independently if you want. And my phone is supposed to be charging. And let's see. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. It'll probably be a much shorter video, but it depends. I'm working on a big report right now concerning a whistleblower. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.